Joining me now is journalist Batia Unga-Sargon. Batia, let's start with the beautiful bromance between the world's most powerful man and the world's richest man, who is working for free in President Trump's team at the moment. Here is Elon Musk with the president describing the effects of TDS.
They call it like Trump derangement syndrome, and you don't realize how real this is until you can't reason with people. So I was at a friend's birthday party in LA, just a birthday dinner, and it was like a nice, quiet dinner, and everyone was behaving normally. And then I happened to mention, this is before the election, like a month or two before, I happened to mention the president's name. And it was like they got shot with a dart in the jugular that contained like methamphetamine and rabies, okay? And they're like, wow! And I'm like, what is wrong?
The media's attacks against Musk at the moment and their desperation to drive a wedge between him and the president, I've got to say, these attacks are getting increasingly desperate.
Yeah, it's amazing because they seem to have realized that due to Donald Trump's immense popularity, which only keeps growing as he keeps succeeding at all of the things he promised he was going to do, has meant that their usual line of attack, Orange Man Hitler, is falling really flat. And so what they've tried to do is simply change the object of their obsessive, insane hatred from Donald Trump to Elon Musk. And unfortunately, there is a lot that Musk is worthy of criticism over. There are big potential conflicts of interest. This is a person who is a defense contractor who is now investigating the Department of Defense. He was himself investigated by the SEC. He is now himself investigating the SEC. He met with Modi, the Prime Minister of India. He's now hiring people in India. There are a lot of problems here. Elon Musk is incredibly close with China, which is the United States' greatest adversary. There are conflicts of interest everywhere you look. And yet, because the lefties are losing it, Rita, nobody is talking about the important things. And instead, they're out there just screaming and shrieking and braying and doing the same exact stuff they did to Trump. Now they're doing it to Elon Musk.
You are so right, because there are meaningful discussions to be had, investigations to be had about some of what you just described. But no, they're going for the cheap, easy hits, just exactly the same tactics, and they're having the same impact. The people have just tuned out, except for that tiny audience. Let's go to New York now, where Governor Kathy Hochul is considering sacking New York City Mayor Eric Adams after 4 of his top deputies quit. The governor said she would meet with key leaders in Manhattan for a conversation about the path forward. And one of those key leaders appears to be Al Sharpton. Batia, I'll get your take on why the governor is consulting with a character like Sharpton when making this important call. As for Mayor Adams, well, he had this message for the media.
Mayor Adams, why don't you take questions from the press?
All right, thank you.
Why don't you take questions from the press?
Y'all liars.
What are we lying about exactly?
Because you're all liars. That's what he said there. What's happening in New York, and what would happen if Governor Hochul does remove the popularly elected mayor?
I'll tell you what's going to happen. Andrew Cuomo will become our next mayor because he said that if Eric Adams hangs on, he's not going to enter the race. But if she pulls Eric Adams, that leaves the lane wide open. And Andrew Cuomo is very clearly, lining up his ducks for a mayoral bid at this point, it seems like. The reason she had Al Sharpton in is because she wants to know, is there going to be a racial backlash to her, calling her racist, if she takes Eric Adams and basically forces him to resign. So she brings in the race baiter in chief, Al Sharpton, to say, are you going to cover me if I do this, or do I have to worry about being smeared for, getting rid of Eric Adams? That's what you saw play out. There was a classic scene of New York City politicking. It will not be the last time that happens.
That is appalling. If it's that simple, and I think you're 100% right, that is just appalling. Of course, the optics are terrible, and if you're from the left side of politics, and Kathy Hochul is, and so is Mayor Adams, those accusations are going to come for you because that's the game they play. Everything is seen through that racial filter. Now, I want to ask about this fantastic piece you've written on the entire Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, the fake Me Too scandal. You've argued it signals the death of man bun feminism. Explain to my audience what man bun feminism is in the first place, and how did a man who presented himself, and Justin Baldoni is this man who was this new age, perfect male feminist ally, is now suing a woman who's accused him of sexual harassment?
So you see the man bun there in full display on your screen. Justin Baldoni literally wrote the book on beta maledom. He wrote a book called Undefining My Masculinity or something like that. He wrote another children's book called Boys Will Be Humans. His whole public persona as a celebrity was an ally of women. And this ended up being a key to his downfall here when Blake Lively, sensing his weakness, started to bully him on the set of his own film, demanding the right to rewrite scenes, demanding the right to have her own edit of the film. And then finally, when she was hit with a ton of negative press when the film came out for the way she was handling herself and some old clips in which she was fat shaming a reporter, she then argued that he had, sexually harassed her in an attempt to launder her image by becoming the victim. She cast herself as the victim of a Me Too scandal and cast him as the aggressor. Unfortunately, a more beta male you couldn't have found. I mean, he had all of the receipts showing that in every interaction, she had had the power and he hadn't. And what I argue in the Free Press piece is that basically this is not just the end of the Me Too movement, but it's the end of this kind of man bun ally feminism, because what we really see here, Rita, is that the problem with the Me Too movement, the problem with Believe All Women, is that the relationship between sexuality and power is very, very complicated. It cannot be reduced to just who is the woman and who is the man. And in this case, the man was the one being bullied, the woman being the one bullying him. And when that was revealed, she claimed the victim status and it fell on its face.
It did. It has been such a schmozzle for her. She should have just gone on holidays for 2 weeks and the whole thing would have blown over. The film was a dud. Everyone would have forgotten about it. But no, she couldn't have any bad publicity because, she's a golden girl. She's part of this golden couple. So she comes up with this insane story. The New York Times just prints it. I think the New York Times is going to be looking at a massive payout to Justin Baldoni here. And as much as of a beta male he is, and we've heard some of the calls he plays to Blake Lively, some of these recorded calls, and oh gosh, it is cringeworthy just how over the top he is with this male feminist ally narrative. But he's got himself an absolute killer lawyer, and he's going, he's not one you want to mess with. He's got a fantastic track record. And with each new revelation, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds end up looking worse. And I noticed they were both at the special Saturday Night Live anniversary edition. I'll be playing the awful skit Ryan was involved in a little bit later in the show. But also on that program, we had that Tom Hanks skit painting Trump supporters, the majority of the country that is, as racist and stupid. How is that being received in the US?
Oh, people are so upset about this. You have to understand the election we just went through was the least racialized election probably in American history. It united working class voters of all races, including a quarter of Black men, a historic number for a Republican to have gotten. This is a moment of unbelievable unity. among Democratic and Republican voters who are working class, because Donald Trump really spoke to them. He basically cobbled together the New Deal Democrat coalition for the 21st century. But the Democrats refuse to admit that they lost the working class, which in and of itself is utterly outrageous. What the Democratic Party represents today is exactly what was in that skit: an unbelievably wealthy person pretending to himself, probably as well, that he is a good person because he can smear poor and working class people as racists to hide the fact that they are rich. I mean, this is the move of the Democrats. The liberals in America today are rich. The Democrats are the party of the wealthy. And they masquerade as having the higher moral high ground, as being somehow more compassionate by smearing poor people. I mean, it's utterly disgusting, and everybody can see it, Rita. The backlash has been immense, and people are pretending on the left like this is not a big deal. It is a really big deal. The country is uniting around Donald Trump. They are uniting around this agenda. They are uniting around the strength and the efficiency and just the utter competence on display. It is such a relief. Every day in the last 3 weeks that he's been president, to 2 months, whatever it's been, Donald Trump has said to the American people, you are not alone. I'm here. I'm going to help you. It is an unbelievably amazing thing to be seeing. And I'll just end with this, Rita. This has changed the game for future presidents, because we've never seen anybody do this. We've never seen anybody actually do what they promised they were going to do. We've never seen anybody show up and say to forgotten Americans, I am here and I'm going to make your life better. This has changed the game going forward. There's no more going back to whatever the last 4 years was, but also I would argue even what came before that.
It has been an astonishing 4 weeks. That the pace of it has blown, I think, everybody away, even all those people who believe that Trump would execute his agenda. He was going to do what he promised to do. We didn't think it was going to be keeping up this pace. This is something else. Before you go, we've talked about the media's tactics against the Trump administration, and there is nothing they will not seek to blame on him, including a Delta plane crash landing in Canada. Thankfully, nobody lost their lives. The usual suspects on The View, including Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, said plenty of silly stuff, and Whoopi Goldberg wasn't going to miss out on the ill-informed hysteria either.
I have been panicking over all this insanity with these planes.
Yeah.
You know, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. Like, so let's start with the string of mass firings by Elon Musk's Doge has sparked a lot of chaos, confusion, and fear, because Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is defending the firing of 400 FAA workers. But former Secretary Pete Buttigieg slammed the firings of employees.
Oh, it's enough of that. Incredible. But as we watch this astonishing footage of passengers being rescued from the crash plane, tell me about some of the media hysteria and misinformation about who is to blame for this crash.
Oh gosh, they try to blame everything on Trump, and then anything good he does, they won't give him any credit. It's utterly disgusting. I'll just say about our Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. This is an incredible human being. Watch closely what he does with that office. He's going to do amazing things. And again, it all comes down to the fact that they cannot admit how incompetent they have become on the left, how utterly divorced from the needs of the average American. And this is all just projection, Rita. Every accusation from the Democrats is a confession. They cannot stand the efficiency with which Donald Trump is carrying out the mandate given to him by the American people. It's going to be a long 4 years for them, that's for sure.
Going to be a long 4 years, and if J.D. Vance keeps up his current form, it may be a long 12 years. Batia Unga Sargon, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Rita. God bless.